Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Promoting Thoughts. We're going to be discussing real money transactions in games today, a topic that is going to be a hot one over the coming months, following on as it is from Blizzard's announcement that Diablo 3 will feature a real money auction house where people can list items that they find in-game to be sold for real cash, which they can then use towards Battle.net purchases or through a third party withdraw into a bank account, much the same way that PayPal allows you to do with eBay auctions. Now, real money transactions have been around in some form for quite some time in online gaming, most notably in MMOs, massively multiplayer online games. There is an actual entire subgenre of these called free-to-play, which are funded entirely through purchases made from a cash shop provided by the game's makers. Now, where the Diablo system will differ from anything that's gone before, to my knowledge at least, is that it will allow direct trading of in-game drops for real money. Now, this is both a positive and a negative thing for various reasons. So, let's first analyse the positives. Well, the biggest positive that stands out is fraud prevention. Now, in Diablo 2, the prequel to this game, there was a very big market for people to buy and sell items both for in-game currency and real money. The real money services were provided by various third parties whose reliability was sometimes questionable, and there were accusations of credit card fraud. What Blizzard have essentially done is to cut out all of these third-party sites, and even if people wanted to provide third-party services, they're going to do it through Blizzard's auction house because nobody is going to go looking on an external website when they have this in-game functionality there. So it will cut down on the risk element to people. It'll also increase the convenience element for people that maybe don't have as much time to play but want to be able to run the nicer dungeons a little bit quicker. Perhaps they're bored of the older content, so they want to get onto the new stuff without having to refarm. And this will allow them to do so by ponying up a little bit of cash, which somebody who's got a little bit more time will be able to make and put towards other games or towards real life. So those are the good sides of it, really. It increases player choice and it increases player security. The downsides of it, as far as I can see, is the risk that it will seep into other Blizzard games or other games by other companies. Blizzard is something of a market leader in the online PC gaming market. StarCraft and StarCraft 2 have huge esports followings. I don't need to mention the amount of following World of Warcraft's got, but I will do anyway. And also, Diablo is a franchise that has a lot of interest in it as well. Blizzard games sell well. They're a banker. Their publisher knows that when Blizzard makes a game, people will buy it. And other publishers look to these sort of companies, your Blizzards, your BioWares, and Infinity Ward, people like that, for a lead on what works and what doesn't. And if this takes off, you can guarantee it will find its way into other successful franchises and games. Worse still is if it takes off, Blizzard might decide to introduce it into World of Warcraft. Now, they have said so far that they have no plans to do this, but Blizzard have said in the past that they have no plans to do something and have actually then gone ahead and done it. I'll point you to World of Warcraft when they said we have no plans to allow character transfers from non-PvP realms to PvP realms, even under the paid character transfer service. And about a year and a half ago, they opened this functionality up so that you could level a character on a non-PvP realm and then go to a PvP one at max level. So Blizzard don't always stick to what they say when they say we have no plans to do it. And that's not a detriment to them, it just shows that they've got a flexibility. However, it does mean that just because they announced today that something won't happen, doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. So if this got into World of Warcraft, well, what would the impact be directly on World of Warcraft? Well, the biggest impact would be on the raiding guilds of this world. Now, raiding guilds for some time have been collecting items by defeating boss encounters in a game, and some of these items are what's called soulbound, which means the character that gets them, it gets locked to that person and they cannot trade to another player. And some are not. Some only bind to a character when that character actually equips them, actually uses them on his character or her character. These were the ones that the raiding guilds traded for in-game cash, and this was to help fund their hobby, their raiding time, through the various in-game expenses that incurs. If there was a real-life auction house placed into World of Warcraft, you can bet that the first thing that would go on there would be and what that would do essentially is change raiding from being a hobby into potentially a commercial venture. The larger guilds, the ones that are most progressive on encounters, could easily field 3 or 4 teams to clear out this content, gather up these items, sell them, and actually start paying people to raid, paying them to play. And the other example is that in the Diablo auction house, you will also be able to list in-game currency as an item for sale. Now, if you could do this in World of Warcraft, essentially what you're doing is you're cutting off all of those spammers that try and get you to go to various websites to buy gold and buy in-game items. Blizzard, however, run the risk of legitimizing these gold selling activities and these gold farming activities. And while for some people this may not necessarily be a bad thing, certainly it'll reduce the associated crime and fraud involved in that. And we know this is a high amount because Scott Hartzman of Tryon Worlds recently came out and spoke out at just how much money MMO companies spend on charges by credit card companies for transactions that have been fraudulent as a result of these gold selling services. So it is quite big and it's quite a noticeable impact on them. So it's very appealing for Blizzard and other companies to use this model to minimize that impact, as well as raise a little bit of extra funding for themselves. And what this essentially creates then is a two-tier gaming community between those who play for the sake of playing and those who pay to acquire. Now, on an individual level, should this be a problem to a person? Because as long as you're having fun, what does it matter how the next person has his fun? Well, I guess essentially it doesn't, but it does sort of suck out the soul of a game, which is that there are challenges there to be overcome by the players, and these challenges are overcome through skill, time, persistence, effort. But now these challenges can also be overcome by going to a real-life auction house and ponying up some of your hard-earned wonga. The worrying factor for this trend is that eventually the in-game auction houses just replace the game currency ones, and everybody's just trading games for real-life money. Now, this can be both a good and bad thing as well. If you look at a game like Second Life, that has a massive secondary economy. There are people who have full-time jobs from doing this and make a career out of it. And this is great for them, and it's great for the players that enjoy that sort of thing. But does this belong in an MMO that's based on advancements and achievements? I don't know. It just feels like we're losing a little bit more of the soul of gaming to the marketing men and the men in suits. It's hard to come up with a rational argument against it without sounding like a bit of an elitist, but the fact is that the more we surrender our money for in-game activities, on top of paying for a game, on top of paying for a subscription, on top of the cash shops that these companies already provide to sell your in-game items, it just feels like they're sticking their hands deeper and deeper into our pockets, you know? And I just think at some point we as gamers need to sit down and say, look, enough. We're giving you enough of our money for this product. Yes, it's fun, but you cannot keep just taking money over money over money. And yes, it's optional to buy this content, but the fact that the option's even there shows that they want to sell it to you. They want to make this money out of you. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it could lead down a slippery slope where we start seeing secondary economies in almost every MMO. When that happens, I do worry that how much you can spend will replace how much you can play, how well you can play, how well you can organize your social structures. Already in MMOs, we're seeing that the social element is breaking down somewhat when you introduce things like cross-realm dungeon finders and the ability to be completely anonymous and not even have a server community. People are getting ruder, people are getting more obnoxious and more offensive towards each other. Just imagine how this is going to be when suddenly every item in game has a real world cash value attached to it as well. I don't want to see MMOs go down this route. I want to see a more social gaming element, an element of gaming where people gather together to engage in a hobby that they all find mutually fun. I don't know about you, but I just think that if we allow this without a fight, it's saying to companies that it's okay for them to put these sort of things in games, and we'll suddenly start seeing a hell of a lot more of them. Bad thing, not good. So speak up, voice a bit of opposition to it, or support it if that's your opinion. But either way, speak up, make your voice heard. Now, I want to just cover something else, which is a truly tragic event and something that is worthy of getting a little bit upset about. A young man of 20 from my hometown of Sheffield recently passed away due to deep vein thrombosis, or e-thrombosis it's been called. He acquired this through long sessions of sitting and playing on his Xbox. And what happened afterwards is the truly amazing part. His parents, rather than getting angry and hateful and wanting to find somebody to blame for what happened, have decided to start a campaign to raise awareness of this condition, and it is a very worthwhile one. There are hundreds of thousands of people who contract deep vein thrombosis every year, and there is a lot of mystery about it and very little understanding of the condition, and they are doing their best to raise awareness of it. They're starting a website up, and what I want people to do is follow a link that I'm going to put to a little condolence book. I want you to leave these people a message. It'll take 5 minutes of your time, show them a bit of support, and then just look into the issue of DVT a little bit. That's all. 5 minutes, and you might just give a little bit of comfort to two people who are in a horrible place. Now we've run on a little bit longer than I intended to, but I had a lot to cover this week. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you'll stick with us for future episodes. Take care.